Hi everybody, it's Friday the 14th of May and welcome to episode 37 of Run to the Hills. This week we talk to YouTuber and ultra runner Martin Bell. He has a popular YouTube channel called The Determined Runner. But before we talk to Martin, let's catch up with my co-host all the way from France, Eddie Sutton. How's it going, Eddie?
All the way. You know, we talked last week and it was raining and it's still raining.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. We did have a beautiful day on Sunday and we did the classic of Brits on holiday, and it was beautiful. So we went up to the lake and the kids were running around in their like swim shorts and swimming costume, and I had like a vest top on, and I still the reddest tops of like the shoulders where your back and your shoulders haven't seen the sun for many months. And the kids are hilarious because they've been skiing, so they've got these really brown goggle mark faces, really brown back of the necks, and then the whitest torsos you've ever seen, and then really brown hands.
Oh wow, yeah.
Bit of a farmer and a cricketer's tan, as we call back in England. But yeah, it always rains in May, and I always forget that it rains all May, and it comes and I'm like, oh yeah, we pay the price for a beautiful snowy winter and what's going to come, which is going to be beautiful summer, by May being really quite miserable and gloomy. But you have to have the rain to make the beautiful mountains and to wash the snow away.
Okay,
and we had great excitement because there was literally so much rain. We had this enormous mudslide coming down the valley just behind us with 3 fire engines. Can you imagine? The kids were like, oh my God. And they were like digging out these gullies to try and get the water to stop. Yeah. Because if the mud or like half the mountain comes down, and there's all the locals are like, do you remember the year when the mud came down and there was a wave? I love it. I love it. Anyway, it's very British to start the podcast talking about the weather.
Bit of weather.
Yeah, bit of weather. I had a great, last time we chatted, I was in the midst of my recovery week, wasn't I? Feeling a bit tired.
Was it your download week?
Download week. But by the end of the week, I felt great and I was very strong. And actually, I didn't find it that hard. You know how people are like, oh, I find it so, you get really touchy. Because I have to run with the dogs for half an hour. It sort of takes the edge off. You feel like you've had a bit of a run. Quite enjoy it. By the end, I was like, I could quite easily just carry on not doing any training. But I felt so much better. When I talked to you, I was like, I feel terrible and so tired and what have I done? It's a bit like an addiction.
I think you started the answer with, oh.
And now, by Sunday, I was like, I knew it was going to rain on yesterday. So I had a long ride followed by a run with a little bit of effort in as my sort of long session this week, which I was going to do on Monday. I knew it was going to rain. So by Sunday it was so kino bino. I'd even made up all my bottles ready to have by Swift. I had my kit all out because I knew I was going to need 2 sets of kit. I was like, cannot wait to start training. Whereas normally I'll be like, oh, I just have another cup of tea and then I'll do my bottle. So really did work. And that because then as well, I had to do 2.5 hours on a turbo because it was too rainy to ride outside. Oh my God, I loved it. What I really noticed was that I had mental energy as well as physical energy.
Oh, great.
So I didn't find it hard and I'd forgotten, how tiring mentally training is sometimes as well, just to be like, okay, I got to put myself in the hurt locker again. Because I was like loving it. I was cycling around Swift, winning all the jerseys, and catching up on all more podcasts. And then I had to do a run off. So it was pouring with rain, obviously, but I felt great. First time I've run off my bike for 12 years. Oh. So the first 10 minutes was a bit like John Wayne. I was going. But then I just felt great. I loved it. I honestly loved it. And the hour Pilates in the evening was a little bit emotional with my tired legs. But fortunately, I'd done an Instagram stories of my sweaty session just to really amuse myself, basically. And my Pilates teacher had seen it. Because normally I go to the classes. She doesn't know I've done 4 hours like exercise beforehand. And she was like, oh, Eddie, okay, Eddie, you bend your legs for this one. Don't know, you take an extra rest. I'm going to do this every week. It's great. So yeah, and back on it now. Back on it, feeling great, ready for the summer. Entered 800 trail races.
Oh my goodness.
They're all going to be cancelled, but one of them might not be. One of them might not be. So yeah, kids, moral of the story, take a rest week. It might not be fun, but you're going to feel so much better afterwards.
I never understand. You said about Instagram stories. I don't understand the Instagram story. I can post a picture, and that's about as much as I can manage.
Well, I don't do people do really good ones, don't they? With like all these like writing. I don't understand, but I kind of like, I go for it. And then, I showed them to the kids when they came back. Cause I always tell my kids on the way, our little drive down to school, I tell them what I'm going to do. They're not interested, but I tell them that day. And, and then they might remember when I pick them up. Cause then I go, you go do the classic, how was school? What's news? Yeah. How was the mot dicté, which they have to do every day? What was for lunch? Any gossip? And they're like, no, can't remember what's for lunch. Nothing, yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to tell you what I did today. Here we go. But I showed them all my Instagram stories. They're like, oh, mum, you didn't show that to people, did you? You don't know. That's not good. Real life, kids. Real life. Right. We haven't discussed it. I want to know all about this epic day you have.
Well, I was going to ask you first, actually. How's the vaccine over in France? Are you in a queue or is it any?
We're in a queue. So they've released us now. They said, if this is classic France, if you can find an appointment, you can have the vaccine. So I went online, Dr. Libre, it's called, this morning. I was like, I'll just see if I could get an appointment tomorrow.
Yeah.
No appointments anywhere in the local 100K vicinity. So basically we have to just log on every day and see if we can have get an appointment.
Okay.
But there aren't any. There's no appointments. But by the 15th of June, we should be able to book one. So what's that, month time?
Fingers crossed.
But it's rolled out much quicker than they thought. So hopefully in the next few weeks. But I'm kind of like as well, well, I need to wait now for a couple of weeks till my next sort of down times because I don't want to miss any training. Marry it up, but we'll see.
Some people don't get affected at all. It's
some people breeze through, and then some people seem to have had a terrible time.
I know. It's just
right.
Getting lucky.
Come on, you're dying to tell me all about this epic day.
What do we do? Well, first of all, I did my 6 times 5 minutes at 10K pace.
Listen, when we last spoke, you were a little bit tired and you were like, Eddie, I don't feel like it.
Yeah, I felt a bit down. But I think, like I said, I was just going to do one of them and see how it went. And I was with Justin. So there was no way one was going to not end up being 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 5 and 6.
And did you feel okay?
I did. Yeah, I felt all right. I don't know. Maybe I just get a little bit nervous when it's the sessions with somebody else at least. But yeah, it went fine. Hit the paces. It's kind of lots of little out and back. So one direction was a little bit harder into the wind. And I also tested out that MyMore product, which finally did it. Oh my goodness me, it's taken me a while. I do like it, but if there's one criticism I have, it's the actual physical test. Where I live, at least, isn't easy to do because you need probably 200 meters of straight road to test it on, and that's been a bit kind of limiting to where I live locally. And then when I do think, well, I'm going to go to Hartlepool to do it, I forget to take the bloody the sensor. So that's why it's taken me about 3 months to do it. But yeah, other than that workout was good. And then we did I went on my own actually, a leg 1 and leg 2 recce. Again, I should really end up doing leg 3s and 4s, but logistically, especially on my own, leg 1 and leg 2 is easy. So that's Skiddaw, the classics again. But my goodness me, it was a tale of two halves. Every time, so I was in Keswick, all wrapped up, expecting kind of bad weather, and was just roasting hot. And then got up to Skiddaw, freezing cold, down in the kind of bogs at Calver, hot. Calver itself, cold. Blencathra, cold. And then as we crossed over and you go up to Clough Head, and then you stay high for quite a long time over that, and progressively getting higher and higher until you get Helvellyn. And the weather, just the closer we got to Helvellyn, was just atrocious. It was quite, I had to laugh. It was just like, this is absolutely insane. Gale must have been gusting kind of 50 odd mile an hour winds, still a lot of snow up there. So you'd think you were kind of moving okay, and then you'd just be knee deep into a bit of snow.
I get you.
But it was.
Were there lots of people up there?
You know what? There was. It was quite.
I just had that vision that there might be.
Shadows.
Was the weather forecast like that?
Yeah, it was about 40-mile-an-hour winds and just cloudy. I didn't expect it just never released. The clouds never kind of let go of Helvellyn. And then Dollywagon and Fairfield. But what happened was the pace was fine. You know, we're supposed to do those 2 legs at 8 hours roughly. I think I was 7:44, and on my own, carrying all the kit, which you won't do on the day. And again, the second half, at least, the weather was bad. So 7:44 was pretty good. But what I did, because I got so wet and cold, I stopped eating because I couldn't get my hands back in my gloves.
Yes.
I know, but I had energy drinks, so I was taking in some calories.
Yeah.
But I stopped eating kind of solids, and I really felt it the last probably hour and a half. It was quite nice. I met a guy, a 23-year-old kid, just bounced up Seat Sandal as I was hanging on for dear life, and then he left me going down to dumbbell raise, vanished. I couldn't believe. I'm thinking I felt like I was going flat out, and he but he gave me a lift back to Keswick, which is really sweet of him, and he's been coached by Sarah McCormack, so small world.
Stop it. He's going to tell I found this old geezer, Sarah, who was in a terrible state. He was he hadn't eaten, and
he said he knows you.
He says you're his mate.
Yeah, but that was good. You know, when the weather was bleak, I was just had to laugh. It's like, well, I felt safe. There was no way, it wasn't dangerous or anything like that. I suppose if you fell over and you couldn't get off the mountain quick. But you kept coming across these little silhouettes of people just hunkered down, getting some food in. But they had all the kit on, the waterproof trousers, the boots. These were walkers, all the backpack. They had loads of food, flask of hot tea. And I was there kind of lightweight-ish. Put the jacket on. That was a bit of a lifesaver. But yeah, great. Leg 1, leg 2 done. I could have done leg 3. I felt pretty good. And that was my week. The rest of it's pretty easy. I think because, and again, this week coming up, it's all pretty easy because this technically would be the last big long run. So yeah, all well. Very good.
You've missed out an important point.
Oh. The
pasty record eating world record.
3. I excelled myself this weekend. I had 3 pastry.
All at once?
No. I paced myself, Eddie. I'm not a novice at this game. So Saturday, I went on to see.
Tell me through your strategy.
I had a pasty with my dad on Saturday. I went on to have some lunch with him, and then Sunday I was dreaming about the little pasty shop in Keswick. Salty, fatty pasty with a nice cup of coffee. That was good. And then when I got home, a cheese pasty for my tea.
I like the way you varied the fillings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's not all the same because the body gets used to that. You're mixing it up.
I love pasty. My goodness, a warm pasty. I think when you've been out for hours on any kind of arduous task, just visual. I walked straight past the chippy, and this pasty shop, I felt my wallet was definitely lighter. Sorry, we let the dog out. He's whinging on. Go on there, Rex. Sorry.
Is that Rexy?
Yeah, my goodness me, a cup of coffee and a pasty cost me about £6.50 or something like that. So, and there was
that's a cheap round here.
Yeah.
Our cafe just up the hill, our nearest cafe before we ski back, I joke you not, €7.50 for a small French coffee. Yeah. Won't make that mistake again. And it's literally a 3-minute ski back to my house. I was like, it's such a beautiful day. Let's stop for a coffee.
No, I can't do that. But there was a Greg's like literally 5 meters away, and I thought, no, the man's got enough money, Mr. Greg's. I'll go to this little, and the guy gave me a lift back, so I saved £7.50 on my bus fare from Dunmill to Keswick.
Ever the northerner.
The northerner. Oh, I'm crunching the numbers in my head every time.
Right, people were doing much more exciting stuff than us this week. They were racing.
Races, yes.
Races.
Well, I've got
Hardmore's
Wayne Stone's marathon, won by Ben Hamilton. He took the win, and Emma Lavelle Wood was first lady in the half marathon. Daniel Bateson and then Heather Mockery was the first lady too. And also we got Trail Outlaws Durham 10 miler. I'd really like to do this one, but it always clashes with stuff. But John Dixon took the win, and Georgie Peace was the first lady. Well done, everybody there.
Is that a trail race, or is it a road race, that one?
The Durham one. Yeah, Durham. Durham Trail 10 miler. Yeah. So
where does it go? What's the route? Do you know?
I don't know, it must be around the Durham area. I don't know. There's loads of lovely woods and stuff in Durham.
I know. I knew it. Oh, that's why I asked, because I was like, oh, what way that one go?
Yeah, I don't know. I did a race. Used to do this race called the Court in Clamber, which takes you around the Bluebell Woods and stuff like that. Kind of starting Hoffel College, Maiden Castle, that area, then off into the woods. There's a willow miner.
Lived there. It's where I lived, literally. And then it's got those woods, and they're really steep, little uphill, downhill. Classic. Many happy minutes. Right, I'm going to talk about the Centurion Thames Path 100. We are really looking forward to talking to the winners of that next week. We couldn't quite fit in to talk to them this week, but we will talk to them next week. And in the men's race, Craig Holgate's course record of 14:09 was beaten by Richard McDowell in 13 hours 43, the fastest trail 100-mile time that Centurion have ever recorded, so probably the fastest in Great Britain, because they sort of have got the niche of the 100-milers. And in the women's race, I'm going to call all three results. Third place was Jennifer Sangston in 21 hours 38. Second place, friend of the show, Melissa Montag in 20 hours 24. And the winner was Lorna Spain in 20 hours 02. It was really hard in the women's race to see, because the men tended to all start together. So it was quite easy to see where they were. But in the women's race, it was, because it's a wave start, you couldn't tell. And quite a lot of the time, Lorna and Melissa were really close in timings, but having heard reports from lots of different people on the course, the last 10 miles was a mud fest. People were literally like swimming to the finish, so that must have been exhausting. Again, a very small women's field, small but select. So ladies, let's keep going out there, let's keep racing, let's get out there. I had a chat with a client actually of why so many women weren't racing, and we sort of we talked about it a bit before, didn't we, Gary, that we felt that perhaps the women had the burden of the homeschooling and the lack of time to train, but we also discussed, I had a thought, maybe men will turn up to a race start maybe not in their best shape, not fully prepared, not having completed a perfect training program, and if they don't finish, they'll be like, I gave him my best shot, I hadn't been able to train, etc., etc. Women, I reckon, are much less likely to turn up not having been able to train properly, not being quite as fit as they will. And also, us as women, I might be generalizing here, but we don't want a DNF. We take that quite personally. And we, if we're going to do a race, we want to put our heart and soul into, not saying that men don't, but I think men are much more relaxed about how they perhaps approach it. Again, huge generalization, but I'm trying to work out why suddenly there's a lot less women in races. And that bit in Friends when, who is it that Joey said, it's not what you said, it's the way that you said it. I think girls women just kind of put so much more emotional pressure on themselves races. So let's just go out there. Let's toe these starts to these race lines, and the men can stay home and look after the kids and do the cleaning and the washing. And we're going racing. I certainly am. As I've said, I've entered a race. I just whisper this because my husband's upstairs. I've entered a race like every weekend in July and August. I'm just going to keep saying, I'm just busy. I'm going to go on Saturday. Okay. All right, see you tomorrow.
I think I read some research about people who had applied for a job. It was to kind of get more gender equality in the different jobs within the kind of boardroom. And I think the kind of basics from the research was that underqualified men would apply because they thought they could do it, while the women were generally overqualified and maybe a bit kind of hesitant. It seemed to be a bit of feedback they got.
I pop something on Facebook, see whatever, rather than just yours and mine opinion, Gary. Let's see what other people are thinking.
Oh, no, I'm reading somebody else's research. It's not my opinion.
It's not your personal research.
No. Thanks for listening. And if you're enjoying this episode, then pop a post on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Also, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you are tuning in from. Head over to YouTube too and subscribe to our channel. Right, this week we catch up with Martin Bell. Now, Martin is a YouTuber, ultra runner, and he's currently going through treatment for prostate cancer. I really enjoyed catching up with Martin. I'm friends with him. I knew him through YouTube, so got to know him that way. He's a really lovely guy. I hope you enjoy too. Hi, Martin. Thanks for joining us on the podcast. Could you tell our guests a little bit about yourself? Yeah, just a quick introduction, please.
Yeah, sure. Martin. So Martin Bell, and I've been running since pretty well. I don't know, Richard. I'll not start off straight away with when I started running, because that's probably one of your questions.
Yeah.
Running for over a decade. 51. Live in Aviemore in the Cairngorms National Park, which is just the best place on the planet to go running. And became seriously addicted to running pretty much 2 or 3 years after I started it.
But yeah, when did you start running? And can you remember what it was? You know, there's a lot of reasons why people get into running. Do you remember? Did you have a conscious decision and a memory of it?
Yeah. It's very clear. Same as loads of people out there, probably. About a month before I turned 40, I thought, I'm turning 40. I'm getting old. I need to do something. So I hadn't ran at all since school. So no running, no nothing. And there was a local 10K, the Granton 10K, and I thought, I'll do that. I wonder if I can do that. So I had just under a month's worth of training and bought loads of gear, as you do. So like, didn't have anything, spent a fortune, got totally the wrong stuff, was wearing loads of clothes, did the 10K, sweated profusely, was wearing a pack. It's ridiculous. I did everything wrong. But did that and thought, I actually ran 10K. So that's amazing. And I did it under an hour, which I was really pleased with.
Oh, wow. Brilliant. Well, yeah, for your first one, you know, I think a lot of people, I remember my first run was like literally a mile down the road and I just went off way too fast. And I was exhausted after a mile or two. So to do a 10K in an hour is, that's a pretty good start, I think.
Yeah, no, it was good. I was pleased I did it, but I didn't enjoy it. It was just hard work. I was just trying to latch on to someone and follow them, but I was just wearing so much gear, sweating so much, and finished feeling like I just died. That's
a 10K for you. I think that they're designed to, so you literally feel like you're about to die at the finish line. It's that fine line between, it's not to say like a half marathon where you can just pace it a bit more, but the 10K is such a strength distance. So yeah, you know, you hated it, but kind of quite pleased with, I suppose, how it went. Do you have any like highlights, I suppose, a particular memory of a favorite race or something like that?
Oh yeah, there's loads of them. Blimey, CCC, one of the UTMB races. That was my first. Well, no, it wasn't my first big run, but it was a very memorable one.
Yeah.
Just it was a long way, and it was very high. So
and what is that for our listeners? I know a lot of people will know like the whole.
So the CCC, it's part of the UTMB route. It's 100K with about 6,200 meters of ascent.
My goodness.
Thereabouts. But I got there. You have to do some qualifying races to be able to enter that. So I had to do some of the races to prove to them and myself I could actually do it.
Yeah.
But I went through that process, did it, and then started at the start line. I don't know how many people are in the start batch. It's probably about 2,000 people.
Yeah,
and I started right at the very end, right at the back. So I thought, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing here. This is totally alien to me. The mountains are so steep and pointy. I thought, I don't want to go off too fast. So I'll start at the back and see how it goes.
I was just curious how the trails kind of compared to the trails that you run on now. Are they like manicured trails?
Yeah, they are pretty manicured. Here where I am, so like I can stay on a manicured trail, or I can just go totally off piste and go over bog, heather, and all sorts. Over there, it's got signposts and everything. It's very civilized.
Oh, amazing. And did you go in for the full UTMB, and then you kind of went down to the CCC? I think some people do that, don't they? They miss out on the ballot.
I only had enough points for the CCC. You had to get X amount of points for particular types of races.
Yeah.
And the CCC, you needed less points. but it's almost a starting block for lots of people.
Yeah.
But it's not an easy race, but it's a great experience. Starting at the back, though, if anyone out there is doing it, don't do what I did and start at the back, because it's totally the wrong thing to do. So I thought I'll do it nice and slowly and easily.
Yeah.
But then within, I don't know, about 2 or 3 miles, it gets into a really small bottleneck.
Okay.
And you're literally just stood in a massive queue, and there's no room for overtaking.
Yeah.
So it takes you forever to get up the first hill. But it was great. By the time I actually got up the first hill, I was really relaxed. I hadn't burnt myself out or anything, which you normally do on a race.
Yeah.
You normally head off too quick and you're knackered too soon. But on that one, I got to the top and I was raring to go. Yeah. So from that point to the end, so I passed over 1,000 people at that point.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So you just felt still nice and strong.
I remember
great experience.
I remember my first trail marathon was in Osmotherley in the North Yorkshire Moors, and I started at the back again, but not for the same reasons. I missed the turnoff on the A19 and kept driving south. And then when I could see signs for the A1, and it was like, oh, this is not right. So I turned back and eventually found Osmotherley, parked up, and then started the race about half an hour too late or something. Oh, yeah, okay. And I never got the bottleneck because everything had thinned out. And I just once I started catching people, it was just such a fantastic day, because you would just go as opposed to normally in a race, you'll kind of get to a point and then it feels like you're the kind of tide going out and everybody else is going past you. But for me that day, it was literally, I just slowly kept moving through the field. It's
the best feeling that way, isn't it?
And you saw everybody, normally again, you see the people around you, your pace. But when I did it that way, I literally saw every kind of aspiration for the race. It was a really good day. So that was a memorable race. Have you got a race where you just thought, my goodness me, that was tough?
South Downs 100 was pretty much like that. Yeah, I had stomach issues. I couldn't take any liquid on board or food on board after about mile 45. So after mile 45, there's still a long way to go.
Yes,
so you got 55 miles of literally no food or drink. Every time I tried, I just couldn't take it on. And then you just got weaker and weaker and weaker.
Yeah.
And it was ridiculous. I remember lying down at one point in a field because I was just totally exhausted. It was, I don't know what time it was like 2 a.m. or something. And there was hardly anyone about because everyone's really strung out, and I'd been going slower and slower. Yeah. And I thought, I've just got to close my eyes. So I lay down in the field, closed my eyes. But I don't know how long. It was probably only a few minutes.
Yeah.
But you were just so stiff and sore and achy and everything. And then I was just lying there thinking, this is just not right. I've got to get up. I've got to keep going. Stood up, and something had bitten me in the eye when I was lying down in the field. I can't remember which eye, but one of my eyes just totally closed up. So I was staggering away with my poles, trying to get going. One eye closed, half asleep, just feeling like death. And someone else saw me and just looked at me and said, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Oh, just let me keep going." It's just that was really tough.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I've never done
feed or fuel. You're just knackered.
I think that's a quick way for kind of the wheels to come off when you can't fuel. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was about people running in cold conditions, and if they start shivering, they should eat even more. And I didn't even know that. And maybe we'll come on to this later on, actually, because one of your YouTube videos I'd like to chat about, I think was your kind of mountain safety video that you put out there a couple of months ago now. I've never done one of the Centurion. It's a Centurion event, isn't it? They're all.
It was South Downs,
based down south. But so they're down south, and my goodness me, that's a drive from where you are located now. Why Scotland? I know your accent will kind of give it away. You're not naturally a native of Scotland, but you've moved up there now.
Well, originally came up here just to escape, get away from where I was brought up, because a lot of the times you're brought up somewhere and you just want to go and explore, sort of thing. So I used to come up this way for holidays when I was younger, and I just had fond memories of it. And I skied a little bit.
Okay.
And I thought, I'll just head up to to Aviemore. Literally drove at the time. Not a lot of people know this, but I was a double glazing salesman in Colwyn Bay.
Which, I wasn't expecting that. No.
No, started out okay for a month and then went rapidly downhill.
Yeah.
I had just picked up the phone one day, phoned Pizzaland, which the only place I knew in Aviemore, which is a Pizza Hut type of place, doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
I spoke to the manager and said, have you got any jobs going? He said, I do, yeah, and there's accommodation as well. So I just literally packed up my gear, drove up to Aviemore, and that was me.
Wow.
And I've been here ever since. So that was.
So how long ago was that, sorry?
1989.
89. Wow, that is a long time ago.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Ages ago. But what a good decision. I couldn't have been happier. This is such a good place to live.
Well, that's, you know, I watch your YouTube videos weekly, and my goodness me, it's such a treat, the scenery that you've got. We live in quite a rural area, and we're on the coast, and that is, it's that's nice, but the views that you treat us all with, there's something else. It's fantastic. Do you know, okay, I ask this question quite often, but do you know why you run? Is there it comes up so often, your why you...
Yeah, it's kind of changed over the years. It's been different things to try and better myself, get better at running. When I eventually got round to enjoying my running, then it was, can I get a little bit quicker? Or a little bit better? Can I go a bit further? But nowadays, it's more, for the past 18 months, 2 years probably, it's been more about the enjoyment of running.
Yeah.
And just being out. I like being outside. So being outside on a trail, it's just nice to be out. And if you run, you can see more than walkers do.
Yeah.
So if you go for a walk, you're only going out for so long. Because I can go out, do a big run, get back for lunchtime, and still watch some TV.
And I think it's great, you know, you see so much of your local area, and running, you don't kind of cover the same amount of miles maybe as you're cycling, but you can go out for a few hours. Where I live, say, on the moors, when we're allowed to travel, that is. And you just have a fantastic day out. Well, if you went for a walk, you'd probably do a quarter of the distance.
Still nice, more relaxed, but you don't see as much.
You know, when I'm injured, I tend to do a lot of walking, try to keep moving, and it is good, but it doesn't satisfy me the same as, say, what a run would do.
No, it's
talk
not
about
quite the same.
No, I'd like to talk about kit, because I know on your channel you do quite a few kit reviews, and I've done a couple. Do you have a favourite, I suppose, current bit of kit?
Over the winter here, it snowed a hell of a lot, so I wore the Arctic claws a lot. Just because they have spikes in the bottom. So it's the only way you could actually go for a run a lot of the time. So recently it's been those and the Montane Dragon pull-on, which I have, which is a slightly thicker mid-layer. That's been really nice over the winter as well.
Yeah, cool.
But long-term wise, favourite piece of kit's probably my watch, which is ancient. So Sunto Ambit 3 Peak.
Okay,
so it's black and white. It's no color screen or anything. It's not touch screen, but it's got a 200-hour battery life on it.
Oh, wow.
Super accurate.
That'll do.
It does what it says. So I have had a newer watch, but the battery didn't last very well, and it kept beeping, and you had to flick things. It just annoyed me.
My watch always pesters me. It's a nightmare.
I just want something simple that does the job.
Yeah, I'm a kind of, I don't know what it is with the electronic kind of tech. I'm like a little magpie if I see it flash up on Facebook or some tailored advert that kind of Google's tempting me with. It doesn't take me long before I start checking if I can afford it or not.
I do like an ice race vest. I'm quite opinionated on those. So I get in touch with the companies and give them loads of feedback.
Well, that's because I suppose part of your job. I'm not too sure what your kind of current situation is with Ellis Binger, but I know you were a manager of a store, then an ambassador for them, or a bit of both.
Yeah, managed the Aviemore store for 20 odd years, and then, but in the past few years, I've been doing more and more running stuff for the company.
Yeah,
and then last year I was supposed to. So I stopped being the manager because the year before I was being the manager and doing the running stuff, and you couldn't do both. And I'd done the managing. I was kind of over that. I wanted to do something fresh and new, and running's my passion. So that's what I wanted to do. So I I was traveling all around the country, going to different running events.
Oh, wow.
And I'd be selling stuff with pop-up shops and giving advice and talking to people about gear. So that's what I was doing. But then COVID struck, and that's kind of died a death, hasn't it? So I've had a year of furlough pretty much, which is awesome. I'm loving it.
You know, you're probably not alone. We're kind of part-time furlough. We haven't got the same kind of influx of work that we used to have. So luckily there's flexi furlough, part-time furlough. But you know, it's been good, I suppose for yourself, being able to then have the time to do your YouTube channel, which you'll know as much as I know how much time that involves. We'll probably touch on that a bit later on. When you're out and running around Aviemore, do you just kind of take in the sights and sounds of nature, or do you kind of surround yourself with a podcast or music?
Yeah, no, I used to run with music and I used to run with podcasts, and I do it occasionally, but not very often. Most of the time, I'm just out letting my head, I don't know, do its thing. Yeah. So you just get a lot going on in the world, a lot going on personally, and I'm sure there is for everyone out there, but it's a really nice way of just de-stressing, getting out. And I like running and just stopping. I'll just stop and just appreciate where I am. I like being out in lovely locations. Yeah. And it's pointless running through a lovely... I remember doing that in CCC the first time I did it. I didn't see that much because my feet were paying attention to where my head was looking where my feet were going. Yeah. And I went back and did it the next year, and I was looking about a lot more. I thought, I didn't see this last year because I was concentrating on not tripping up, sort of thing. So I do like to appreciate where I am and just stopping and looking at birds, looking at the deer, looking at all sorts.
I do enjoy, I think I prefer to train on the trails, but sometimes with the race, just like you mentioned, I'm too busy looking at the floor trying to trip over that invisible rock that is literally, you try and avoid the boulders, but the ones that catch you out are those ones that only pop up about a centimetre or two from the floor. So sometimes, I've got to the end of a race and thought, I literally have not appreciated the last 4 hours from where I've been. I've been so kind of head down and focused. But to go and train, like you see, you can just stop and just do the day. I was out with the dog and I knew some deer were coming because he was going absolutely crazy. And then before we know it, 4 deer just popped up, and just it'll kind of take in things like that. You wouldn't see that on the roads when you're training.
No, I don't know how people run on the roads all the time. I can understand how sometimes it's because that's where they are and that's
geography
what they've got. And you are a lot quicker on a road, but I don't know if I'd have the same drive and passion if I was stuck in a city. I need to be in nature and going up a hill or being off a path.
It puzzles me sometimes. I hear in both camps, I fundamentally just running. I don't mind if I'm on the roads or the trails. I'll just kind of get out the door. But I do hear from both camps that, say, a trail runner just could kind of almost say something along the lines of, I can't imagine anything worse than running on the roads. And that puzzles me. And then I hear some road runners who they'll just never run on the trails. It doesn't even kind of come into their mind to think we'll go off grid, whatever. And I kind of think, well, it's basically running wherever you are. I can't understand why you'd love running, but then you'd be so opposed to a form of running.
I'm not opposed to road running. I'll do it sometimes just to have a slightly quicker session.
Talk about events and things like that. Have you ever kind of, I don't know, towed the line at the Edinburgh Marathon or something like that?
Yeah, I've done some marathons, but I'm rubbish at marathons. So bad at marathons. Yeah, no, I've done a few. Done Edinburgh. That was my first marathon.
All right, yeah.
That was pants. I was really annoyed with Edinburgh. One reason, because I thought Edinburgh Marathon, this is going to be amazing. You get to see the sights. Starts on the outskirts of Edinburgh and runs away from Edinburgh.
It's like Musselburgh, isn't it? It goes to that way.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't get to see the things. And you do, I did what everyone always does, started off too quick and get to mile 17 and you feel like your legs are going to fall off.
But people, it may have changed over a few years, but people who don't know, it is a kind of it's not a complete out and back, but you kind of run to a point and then turn back and retrace your steps, but then you finish at when I did it, at least, it was the race course. And it was quite a nice finish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But
yeah, the race course where I finished. My favourite road marathon I did was Loch Ness, just because you're running next to Loch Ness.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like being on a trail. It's a really quiet road.
Yeah.
And you're just looking at nature. Whereas London, for instance, was just noise. I got a headache running around London. It's too noisy. The support's amazing. Everyone's clapping and cheering. There's music blaring everywhere. Yeah. But it was the opposite of what I'm used to.
Well, I just couldn't. I know every time I've done London, I've never been able to feel sorry for myself for too long because just there's constant noise, distraction. And one thing I would recommend for anybody doing London, well, it works for me. I got my name printed on my vest, and
I did that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness me, it's like
gives you a big perk, doesn't it? When someone
half of London are shouting, "Go on, Gary," or "Go on, Martin." It's fun. Yeah, it is. I got really jealous once because somebody next to me must have been called Gary and had Gary printed on their vest, and it was freaking me out because I was thinking, well, these people obviously it's not for me, but it kind of really put me off. But get your name.
That is a good tip, though. If anyone runs a marathon, put your name on your vest.
Yeah,
does make a big difference.
Now, I remember one of your recent videos, or maybe it was probably more around Christmas time, to be honest. You were talking about books. Could you share with our listeners? I'm not too sure that video is outdated, or there's any new books that you've read since then, or
no, I've not really read any new ones. The last one I read was, thanks, I've got all here. Ali Bevan's Broken.
Oh yeah, fancy that one.
Yes. So he wrote that one because last year all the races stopped and all the top athletes were doing fastest known times. So he got involved with those quite a lot, and he went along and helped crew and pace and did lots of help. So he wrote a book about it. So it's quite interesting for me to know some of the characters, and he's talking about some of the routes and places local to here. So so I quite appreciated that. He does have a bit of a potty mouth in it.
Have to get a 18 certificate.
Exactly.
And what about away from running? Anything? Sometimes people have some not necessarily unusual hobbies, but things that outside of running that you
there is nothing outside of running. Running is my life. I just run. I talk about running. If I'm not talking about running, I'm watching things running. Yeah. I'm fairly as thrown into it as you possibly could be, I think.
Excellent. I think that's probably most of us, to be honest.
So I'm trying to do more other things now, but running is definitely the thing. The only other thing to do is, whilst I'm editing and waiting for something to upload, I'll throw some darts. That's just to give me a break from just being stuck on a computer.
And do you have a favorite? You mentioned you talk about running, but do you have a favorite place to run? Is it like local to you, or you've been on holiday somewhere like that? Is there anything particular?
It's pretty much. There's loads of really nice places. Here is my favorite. If I go anywhere else, often I'll think, this is really nice. This is incredible. It's not quite the same as the Cairngorms. I just think the Cairngorms is the best place in the country for running. I've ran all over the place. Down in Devon's really nice. I like Devon. Peak District, Lake District, all over the place is really nice. Chamonix, I love getting to Chamonix as well to go running. That's really nice. I've taken my son out there and the family a couple of times just to show them where it disappeared to sometimes. And they were just blown away. The first time they got there, and you turn a corner and you just see the mountains, their faces. Like, this is insane.
I should visit. I should come up and visit when it's all when you can travel.
Definitely. I'm amazed it's not more of a running destination, but I have been trying to work on that over the years, but just telling people about it, and more people do turn up. There are different running guides and people here now, so
that's interesting.
It is definitely a place to go.
Do you have a coach? Are you just self-coached athlete, or
just self-coached?
Yeah.
So all my injuries and niggles are my own fault.
Excellent. Well, same here. I do quite manage myself quite well with strength and conditioning. I know, again, we kind of talk about this in your channel, I suppose. We see your training updates weekly, and you do seem to do a lot of kind of body maintenance, band work and stuff like that. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's been a recent-ish thing, though. I didn't do any of that for years and years. And as I've got older, things just keep cropping up, and
Yeah.
you get a calf niggle, you get this, you get that, and the other. And it's basically because I've just ran for a long time and not paid attention to the things I should have done.
Okay.
And now I've got to a point where I'm just fed up with being injured constantly, and I'm trying to put the time in, which is one of the reasons why I built this cave.
Yeah.
Just so I could dedicate, I'd have some, I wouldn't have an excuse. I've spent a load of money on it, so I'm going to flaming well use it.
Yeah, for our listeners, Martin built himself a little, call it a man cave or whatever, whatever you want, but it's got his treadmill, all his kind of YouTube setup and lots of kind of race numbers. Yeah, you know, I suppose that has really helped with the YouTube channel, actually, being able to just have a space where, you know, we've got like the people who bought the house, had the house before us, kind of converted the garage into a room as such. And to be fair, it's just been my son's drum kit where his kind of drum kit is put.
I thought that was yours.
No, I wish, my goodness me. But yeah, since doing the kind of YouTube stuff, having this little studio, that's a very grand term for what it actually is, but having something just to go and you can film and record stuff, it makes it so much more efficient. But yeah, going back to the running, what would a typical training week be for you? Do you have a kind of rough outline?
You know, it's totally different all the time. Over the past year, it's certainly changed more into where can I go and film that I can bring people some nice footage.
Yeah.
Whereas it used to be much more structured, as in, I've got this race coming up, that race coming up. I'm going to have a training block and do X amount of miles. Yeah. But it's not been like that for a while. It's been much more, now that I've changed my mindset a bit more as to just going out and enjoying myself. Yeah. It's go out, enjoy myself, where can I film? So a training week for me at the moment is, I'm still getting over certain niggles and injuries, which I seem to have a fair few of the end of last year. And I don't want to push it too much and bring them back. Yeah. So I'm keeping it, I'm doing less miles than I've probably done in years. Okay. But I'm trying to make them happier miles, if that makes sense.
Oh, it's so important. Yeah.
So a training week at the moment, I'll be doing like 30 miles a week, which is a lot for some people, and it's not a lot for other people. I used to do a fair bit more, but as long as I can get out to like 4 or 5 days a week and enjoy myself, and I always like going somewhere different as well. So I don't just like doing the same loop or the same route time after time. I'll have a look at a map and think, I've not been over there, I'm going to go there. Yeah. And the beauty of living where I do is like there's so much, really on my doorstep. Yeah. And I don't meet anyone, which I must be a really antisocial runner because I just head out on my own.
I must, comment really when you do your filming. I know it's just like an edited version of a longer run, but you are pretty spoiled. You're not kind of tripping over lots of other kind of people to share the trails with.
It's rare you see people. It is. It depends where you go. So sometimes you're not going to see anyone, and other times it's quite nice just to bump into someone. But it's not like you're going to see someone every few minutes. It's never like that. Yeah,
I remember say last year, if we'd be heading over to the Lake District or something when people were allowed to travel, and some of the trails were pretty busy. And you'd go up somewhere. I remember we were doing a recce for the Bob Graham round, and it was the section Scarfell Pike and Lord's Rake, and it was a rotten day, and we were up the top of Scarfell Pike, and there was just tons of people, and half of them were dressed inappropriately. It was just like, my goodness me, and it just felt so. In one respect, you were like literally in the middle of nowhere, and then there could have been 20 people milling around the area, kind of, and just off the summit for Scarfell Pike. It was amazing. How have you got anything entered for 2021? Fingers crossed.
I do have. I've got one race entered, but I'm considering not doing it. I've got the Speyside Way race, which starts in Aviemore and finishes in a place called Bucky. So it's 66 miles. Oh. It's not the most interesting of routes, to be honest. Okay. It's okay, but it's very flat. I prefer something, if something's really flat, I just find it a little monotonous because I don't have an excuse to stop and walk. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
If it's hilly, I'm going, spot on. Thank goodness for that. There's a hill coming up. I can walk for a bit. And it just breaks it up and makes it more interesting.
Yeah, that's true. But it is local. My goodness, you couldn't get any more local to have a race.
That's the only reason I entered it was I thought, well, I can sleep in my own bed, have a nice big breakfast beforehand and just head off and that's it. But I've got certain health issues going on this year.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm going to be able to get enough training in to do it and not get injured again. If I do something like that, I want to have a good amount of time where I can build up the mileage and make sure I'm not going to pick something up again. So if I don't do that, I'll try and build up and just do some sort of like FKTs for myself, some personal ones. I've ran from the house to the coast before and things like that. So
I love the FKT kind of ethos, really, that, I know it's fastest known time, but a lot of them are just kind of fantastic routes. So if you don't have to go for a record, you just enjoy the. You know, I keep banging on the channel about Bob Graham attempt. I know I'm not going to get a record, but as long as I can do it in 24 hours, I don't mind if it's, well, I don't want it to be cutting it fine by seconds. I would like to enjoy the last few miles running in, but it's just a phenomenal place to be with a bunch of friends. I think it'd be fantastic. You did, if you don't mind, you did kind of touch on kind of health issues that have recently came up, and I know you have shared it with your channel. You recently been diagnosed with prostate cancer. Now, personally, I think it's really brave that you've shared this. I'm not too sure if I'd have the strength to do that, and I have to kind of say thanks. There's been a few podcasts I've listened to, and it's made me kind of seek medical advice myself. So, for somebody out there who's following your channel, if it does kind of nudge them to think those symptoms kind of seem similar to my symptoms, and if it does get them to the doctors, then, it's really good to kind of share this stuff. But do you mind sharing a bit about your kind of
that's fine.
Your journey to diagnosis? What was the kind of things you were thinking? My goodness me, this is not right.
Well, I didn't have anything wrong with me. Saying anything wrong with me, I was getting a bad back. I've been getting a bad back for ages. So I went to the doctors, said, bad back. It's been long-term, ongoing for quite a while. So they sent me for an X-ray and did some blood tests. Yeah. And the blood test came back that I had high PSA levels, and that meant nothing to me at all. So what's PSA level? But basically they said, right, you need some follow-up tests. So I had to have some follow-up tests, which involved prostate exam, bend over, fingers up the backside. It's like, oh my goodness.
I've had one. So, it's not pleasant.
Well, you end up getting a few. By the time you go to the hospital and see the guy that does it all the time, who happens to have the biggest hands in the world ever, it's not good at all. So he's doing it away. They can feel something. Not sure. It's nothing too bad, but it's not quite normal. So then you have to get an MRI, go back up for that. And then that shows something, but again, it's quite inconclusive. So
and what kind of time span is that from, I suppose?
I went to the doctors in, mid-October, probably. So from mid-October to the day before New Year's Eve, when I got a phone call to say I had prostate cancer, is the time for them to do multiple tests. And lots of different things. Biopsy, I had to get 12 biopsies in one go. 6 on one side of the prostate and 6 on the other. And one side came back positive with 1 out of the 6, and the other side came back positive with 6 out of the 6. So that was then, right, we need to do something. So with prostate cancer, apparently, nothing about it beforehand. It's words. I've no personal experience with it until now, where I've had to learn a lot very quickly. I don't know what I'm saying now, I'm just waffling.
That's fine.
So I had the prostate exam, then they did the test, the PSA levels were high. They phoned me up and said, by the way, sorry to say you've got prostate cancer. which
And that was a
I
telephone
really,
call.
over a telephone call, which
Yeah.
knocked me for 6. I kind of fallen over on the floor. I really
Yeah.
wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
My wife was semi-expecting it because I'd been for so many different tests.
Yeah.
In my head, they're just doing a test.
And this was just all from a bad back. You
Yes, all from getting a bad back.
okay?
I must admit, about 2-3 years ago, I was watching Ricky Gervais, and he was doing a prostate cancer awareness thing, and he said,
Yeah,
"Go to the doctors, get checked out." And I did went to the doctors, said, "Could I get checked out? I've been made aware of this.
Yeah.
Could you do a check?" And the doctor said, "Are you showing any signs or anything?" I said, "No, I feel fine." He said, "We don't need to do it then."
oh,
So he didn't do anything. So I was amazed at that.
yeah.
So
yeah.
I just thought, well, no, I've got no symptoms or anything, so I'm not going to have
I
it.
must admit, if you, of all the symptoms, if you said bad back, I wouldn't kind of,
No, not
I wouldn't
at
have
all.
thought,
But
especially being a runner when you're kind of managing all kinds of niggles and things like that, a bad back could
Yeah.
go under the radar. So, yeah.
But just going to the doctor and getting a blood test is far less intrusive than the other way of doing it.
Yes.
And they can find out very easily if there's an issue or not. So
Yeah.
I definitely say to guys over kind of like 45 onwards,
Yeah.
just nip to your doctors, get blood test. They can check your PSA. It's super simple. It's just like taking a little bit of blood.
Yeah.
It's not harmful at all. And luckily for me, I was at a really early stage. It was a bit all over, but it was still at an early stage, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they've been able to catch it fairly soon. And then
they give you
after,
I don't know what the word is really, but a kind of vision of what the treatment is going to be like now. Or?
yes, yeah. I had to 2 weeks after getting a phone call to say you've got it.
Yeah.
Initially, the first day, maybe 2 days, I was a bit, I'll get sleep. That's the last thing anyone wants to hear. You've got cancer.
Yeah.
But then I thought, well, it'll be fine. I've got an appointment coming up in a couple of weeks. I'll deal with it then. And I kind of buried my head in the sand a bit.
Yeah.
Carried on, kept myself really busy.
Yeah.
My wife Ingrid was super worried
Yeah.
and thinking, like, what's going to happen? Whereas I was, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Then we go up to the hospital to see the surgeon who discusses treatments.
Yeah.
And then it hit home for me. She was more relieved after listening to him.
Yeah.
Whereas I wasn't very good for a good week to 10 days. I felt dreadful.
Yeah.
It just really hit home.
There was one of your YouTube videos, I think or maybe you kind of had a few clips that you'd recorded.
Yeah.
You could definitely tell you were pretty raw, and it was everything kind of spiraling away behind the scenes, in your head at least, what was going on.
Yeah, I didn't know if I was going to use those clips. I just thought I'll record it. I don't know if I'm ever going to put this out there, but I'll do it whilst I've found out, and I'll decide later. But then I did think not talking about it was quite hard.
Yeah.
And I was struggling to even say the word cancer.
Yeah.
And you'd start filling up, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So being able to talk about it more, I found definitely has helped.
Yeah.
And it's definitely helped me deal with it.
Yeah.
But after coming away from chatting with a guy, this is getting more of a cancer talk than a running talk. Sorry about this.
We'll lighten it up in a bit.
I'll finish this bit up soon. But after finding out what sort of treatments are available, he said, so like, you've got this treatment or that treatment, go home and decide. And I found that really, really difficult.
Yeah.
I'd rather he just said, this is what's going to happen. This is the best thing for you. We're making that decision for you. Because you go home and it's a big thing and you don't know what's right, what isn't right. So I eventually chose get the prostate taken out totally.
Okay.
Just on the basis of remove it. It can't come back. It's a longer period, it's a bigger operation, and you're out of action initially for a bit longer, which is why my training is going to go a bit pear-shaped in the next month or two. But long-term wise, I'm not going to be thinking in the back of my head, is it still there? Is it going to come back? If they take the prostate away, my head, then it's gone. I'll have a period where I can't do what I want to do, but after that, I should be back to normal.
Oh, well, fingers crossed. Well, everyone from Run of the Hills, we wish you all the luck with everything, Martin, going on. But yeah, we will move back.
Move back to the running. You did ask.
I know. But yeah, maybe talk a bit about your YouTube channel. Why the Determined Runner? Why that name? Has that been something you've had for years, or just?
Yeah, I've had that for a while. I've
Yeah.
got a WordPress site, so I used to blog on races and kit reviews and things way before YouTube. I didn't even know YouTube existed. Not that long ago, really. I just never watched it. So I started off my WordPress site as the Determined Runner. Yeah. And then that went on to my Instagram site, was the Determined Runner. Okay. So it was the natural progression. Yeah, everything. When I actually found out you could record things and post things, then the Determined Runner it was.
I watch your channel, so I know what it's about. But yeah, because hopefully people will kind of check you out too after listening to the podcast.
Check the channel.
What should they expect?
Come along, visit it, subscribe,
subscribe and share and comment and this and that. Yeah. Well, first of all, what are your goals for the channel? Do you have any aspirations? I know there's the magic 1,000 subscribers and the.
Yeah, that'll be the next step. Just getting to 1,000 subscribers, getting enough views. Hopefully, at some point, being able to get something back from YouTube, because it does take a huge amount of your time and commitment. Yeah. But I enjoy doing it. So that's.
Well, what would you say? For a budding YouTuber out there. Two uploads a week, maybe one of them is about 10, 15 minutes and the other one could be longer depending on the content. What do you think you put into it in an hourly, if you can kind of answer this really, how much time do you think you did devote to your YouTube channel?
Actually, it becomes a good, 35, 40 hours a week easily.
It's crazy.
It's almost full time. I've only been able to do this because I've been off work.
Yeah.
So that's the only way it's actually worked out. It takes ages because if you've never done it before, so you haven't got a clue what you're doing.
Yeah.
So you've got to learn everything from scratch.
I wouldn't say put people off from starting a channel if they ever think
no.
they want to do it. But my goodness me, like Martin just said there, it takes hours and hours and hours. Yeah. And especially for our little niche, this running side of things, we're not like Mr. Beast, whatever, his millions of subscribers and blowing up millions of dollars or whatever he does, these crazy, insane videos.
We are quite niche, aren't we?
Yeah. And I would be, personally, I'd like to, like you said, I would like to be able to monetize this channel and maybe it kind of pays for itself, but I'm really curious when you hit that 1,000 subscribers, is it going to be like 10 pence a week?
It's going to be hardly anything, isn't it? You're going to earn bugger all. But at least you're on the right path. If you don't start, you're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons I started it was over years and years and years, a lot of people seek me out and ask me my advice on running kit and things about running.
Yeah.
And I've talked about that sort of thing. I'll go to different workshops and things and do presentations.
Yeah.
So I've done it for a while on a much smaller scale. So just being able to do that to a slightly bigger audience and hopefully people like what I say. If they don't, I'm sure they just won't watch.
I've looked at some stats on, how many videos you put out there for your 1,000 subscribers. And like I say, we probably, I think like I said yesterday when I chatted to you, the other day, we're a few months of drift of when we started on YouTube. But the kind of trajectory seems pretty similar. And from what I have watched on other videos, it's like this kind of 150 videos on average is the magic. Right? Okay. Yeah, I'm sure I heard that somewhere. And obviously some people could just have a couple of videos and the subject matter or the way they do it is really engaging with people. And there's other people who might have.
And then there's us.
Yeah. Who seem to take forever. Yeah, it's great. Any advice for a budding YouTuber? You think one thing that you think, oh my goodness, I wish I did that.
Yeah, just start. Just start doing it. Start talking in front of the camera.
Yeah.
When I look back at some of my very first videos, a lot of the time I'd have a script and I'd print it out and I'd be trying to look at it and read it off whilst pretending not to read it off.
Yeah.
And then you'd literally lose like 30 takes. It's ridiculous. Takes 700. And then you'd say one word wrong and you'd have to go back. It's a lot easier just trying to be as natural as you can.
Yeah.
and just chat away. But you have to start. If you don't start,
That's right.
you're going to make mistakes.
I do.
It's going to be a bit wooden to start with, but hopefully as you progress, you just become a bit more engaging.
It definitely gets easier, or maybe your quality bar gets lower and things just get through that you're not so bothered about. But I do, if I'm going to script something, I'll try and, because my memory retention is rubbish. If I try and memorize, say, 3 or 4 sentences, that's no good. So I'll try and just kind of crop it down into a sentence or two. And that seems to work, and it kind of speeds editing up. And I suppose also, if I was going to give any YouTube, well, it's not really advice, it's maybe just to expect you'll probably need to upgrade your computer pretty quick. That's or buy a new one. And then not to edit 4K video, you can't just go and buy a little cheap PC. Expect to be spending.
I've got a short story on that one.
Okay, go on then. Yeah.
I bought my GoPro initially, GoPro Hero 8. Thinking, right, I'll do this. I'll start a YouTube channel, start recording things. Got the GoPro, spent whatever it was, 400 quid on it.
Yeah.
Got it home, plugged it in. My laptop wasn't strong enough to make it work. I had to go out and spend over $1,000 on getting a laptop that actually worked for the camera. And then you had to buy an editing software.
Yeah.
So I ended up with Premiere Pro, which costs a couple hundred quid a year.
Yeah.
So you spend quite a lot of money, but I didn't have a clue. I just bought a little GoPro. And
the GoPro's a few £100, and if you want to be putting out, say, 4K, this is, oh my goodness, we're on talking about YouTube now. But if you want to be doing 4K, you need to be doing 4K, because in 5 years' time, so I think it has to be 4K, and then you need a certain spec of computer, which is, I've just bought a Dell Alienware PC.
Okay.
It was I've
got a gaming laptop, just because it's powerful. Yeah.
And that set me back over £2,000, including VAT. Luckily, I can claim the VAT back. And then the software, it's not cheap. So I don't want to put people off. It's fun, but expect these. I don't want to.
Don't just buy a camera and then expect your laptop to work with it, because it doesn't work like that.
Mine definitely didn't enjoy it when I plugged it in the first time. And also, don't think the GoPro software is any good. That will not serve you for kind of content creation.
I think I lasted 2 videos with that, and I need something else.
Excellent. Well, I think that's about it. Unless there's anything you want to share, where can people find you? That's always a good place.
You can find me. Google The Determined Runner, and I should pop up all over the place. So YouTube, The Determined Runner, Instagram, WordPress. I haven't really done anything on WordPress since I've started YouTube, though. Because it takes so long. It takes so much time. So check out YouTube, The Determined Runner.
Instagram, Strava, all those places.
Instagram, Strava, both there. All the links are on my YouTube channel.
I mentioned about the mountain safety video. I thought that was... And that, I don't know if you know, but it actually got mentioned on Marathon Talk one week.
Yeah, that's because I emailed them, told them.
All right, fair enough. I thought, my goodness.
I was sending links to Chris Evans and all sorts.
Well, that's a tip. That's a tip for you for YouTubers. I've never done it.
No, I was sending tweets all over the place.
So what was, for a bit of background, because Run to the Hills, most of our listeners will find themselves out on the hills. What was the kind of basics behind that video?
Well, it's like I've done a kit talk at Glenmore Lodge, which is a outdoor training centre up this way. I've been along there to a few different workshops and stood in front of a load of people with a race vest and explained what I carry in a race vest and why you would carry it. And then Ian from Trail Running Scotland is a local guy, and he was saying he wanted to do something similar. So we went out on the hill. It wasn't as cold as we were hoping for it to be. But even with it being, I can't remember, 13 degrees or something, he stood there with the shorts and T-shirt. Yeah. He was getting cold pretty quickly. So if you don't carry enough kit or the right kit, for if you're out in the hills and you go over on your ankle or something happens, then it can turn nasty really quickly. So it's just thinking, where am I going to go? Am I going to tell someone where I'm going? And
So basically, there was 3 runners with varying
Yeah.
levels of kit, and
Yeah.
the stop lot. Someone started a stopwatch, and then you checked in with them every however many minutes to see how they were all doing. And
yeah.
yeah, it was great. It was brilliant. I thought it was, like you say, you're always trying to scramble and what could the next video be. And I think that's one thing I've learned with YouTube. If you're offering something to the viewer, that is what they engage with the most. And I just thought that was such a fantastic video. So yeah, check out the Determined Runner YouTube channel. And if you only watch one of his videos, I definitely watch that one. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Don't just watch one, watch them all.
Well, once you watch one, you'll be spoiled with the views, so you'll want to watch more. But yeah, thanks very much, Martin. I really appreciate your time today.
That's okay.
And chatting all things about you and Determined Runner. And
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, like
And
I said
hopefully
earlier,
we'll both keep growing.
yeah, fingers crossed. I'll come on your channel if you want.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to come up with different ideas for when I can't run after I've had my operation. I'm going to have a good period where I can't go out. I'm going to have to think of what content can I do. So maybe this sort of thing is something I'll have to come up with.
Do the shorts. They can be really popular and
I tried the shorts. I did some of them, and some are more popular than others. But
yeah,
I
don't know why. I can't work out YouTube. But yeah, thanks very much, Martin. You take care, and we'll see you all soon. Cheers.
Okay, cheers,
Thanks
guys.
for tuning into the Run to the Hills podcast, and thanks to Chia Charge for sponsoring the show. Chia Charge is about people having real food on the go that is made from ingredients you have heard of, and they taste great too.
Thank you so much for that. Great chat, Gary and Martin. Right, the moment you've all been waiting for. Competition time. Oh, drum roll. Competition time. Oh, we love this. We love this. So a couple of weeks ago, we asked you to post pictures of your favorite view on your local trail run, and I've just loved them coming in. Scrolling through. Oh, brilliant. People are really good at photography.
Yeah.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing pictures. If you haven't, go and have a look on Facebook and have a look through all the pictures. But we chose our winner, and it was a beautiful, it must be sunrise. Ooh. It must be sunrise.
Yeah, definitely sunrise where he lives.
Sunrise. Yeah. Alex Morley. And they're surfers going into the sea. What did you think they were, Gary?
I thought there was a turbine. But I quickly glanced.
Pretty sure they're surfers, not turbine. Yeah. Beautiful picture. And as my husband commented, he said, it looks like a poster. It's an absolutely incredible. I wonder if he knows who the surfers were, because I imagine if that was you.
Yeah.
What a great picture that would be. Loved it. I loved it because of the colors, because of the sense of he's doing his sport and he's captured somebody else unaware doing their sport. Yeah. And the light and everything is so many, and it was literally like a pinpoint. That moment would be, and it had gone. I'm no photographer, but I love those photos where you capture an absolute moment of something of, joy or happiness that is captured forever, but is gone again. If you haven't taken the
enjoyed it. Really good pictures. I loved, loved Lindsay Collins. Lots of dog shots, dog photographs again.
We loved, but I think we'd be hunted down by the legal team. Is there a podcasting legal team going, you can't always just choose the dog pictures, but we love them.
Yeah, have a bit of balance. So well done, Alex.
Take a scroll through. Alex will contact you, and you've won a delicious box of Chia Charge bars. You better offer a few to the surfers in the picture.
Yeah, I'd just like to say a big thanks to our listeners. I noticed online, if you filter out kind of podcasts, running, Great Britain, where we came.
How many filters did you put on this, Gary?
Trail,
2 hosts,
running.
1 male, 1 female.
Well, it's a big podcast, Marathon Talks up there and stuff like that, and podcasts that I listen to quite regular. But yeah, if you apply a few filters, then we made it to the top 10 again.
I can't believe we're not number 1. I can't believe that there's anything better than this.
Oh, can you imagine that if we ever got number 1? I did
say,
because with the charts, I think it refreshes daily. So if you timed, I never do this, but if you timed it when you checked, we might kind of hit the top 5.
Where do you find this chart? Is it like Top of the Pops Sunday night?
I don't know. I've just found it. So I think maybe Tim sent me a link once or something.
What's number 1?
Oh,
maybe we shouldn't advertise this.
Yeah, I'm not talking about other podcasts.
No, it's disgusting. That's disgusting.
But yeah,
thanks so much. Thanks so much. And thanks, everybody. I had loads of lovely messages about the Sarah Sawyer interview last week. And I love hearing that people actually listen to it and enjoy it. So yeah, do message us if you do enjoy it or you don't enjoy it. Stop twittering Eddie. Let Gary get a word in edgeways. I get a few of those.
No way, dude.
There's a lot of Eddie's very enthusiastic. I'm not sure if that's a compliment.
But imagine an hour and a half of my drone. It'd be, you need
terrible. I mean, it's struggling now.
But it is wicked. A friend of mine, Michael King, he said he was listening to Sabrina G's podcast on his long run, and it just think, wow, you're part of people's lives. It's really kind of humbling sometimes that you
I have my set podcasts that I listen, and I invest a lot into these people's. Yeah. I love hearing, and especially I do think a lot of it is like when we're so secluded at the moment. I love hearing all about everybody else, and I always learn something, take away something, or have a laugh, or anyway.
And that's why I was so blown away when we made the top 10 of the charts, because I've got quite a small little world view, and you don't realize you reach, but then I see that one of my favorite podcasts is a guy from Mario Fioli called the Morning Shakeout.
Love it.
And when we are charting higher than that podcast for a particular period of time, I just think, my goodness me, more people in England are listening to our podcast than a podcast that I invest a lot of time in. So massive thank you to everybody.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it. Yeah, good luck to everybody who's going to race this weekend. I noticed a few pop up on my timeline, and one is called the Brian Clough Head Fell Race. A very fun memories of Brian Clough, ex-Sunderland player. So that one kind of pricked my attention.
Funny you mentioned that one.
Yeah, but again, I looked at the start line, and a lot of the familiar face names from who kind of won recent fell races. So Scout Adkins there. So I wonder if she's going to do a clean sweep. I think the last 3 races, this will be the 3rd race. And she wins this one too. And also notice another one, 70k Tyne Trail South Ultra. And I think basically this race, they do like a north, south, and I could be wrong. So somebody get in touch if I've made a mess of this, but I think you start the race at the source of the Tyne and then run 70k in a certain direction. I think it finishes at Hexham. So that sounds a nice race.
This sounds a good one for you. Where is the source of the Tyne?
No, I knew you'd ask me that. No, I don't know. I'm a River Weir man, Sunderland fan. I don't know about the Tyne.
No, who cares about that?
But I also know it's a race all the way down in Cornwall. I'm trying to expand my net.
Done you. Well done.
And this was called the Cornish Immeries Trail Marathon. It sounds really interesting, actually. You run through parts of Cornwall's China clay industrial landscape, whatever that is, but I like the sound of that. And the good thing is you're not normally allowed on these trails, not accessible to the public. So yeah, that sounded really interesting. If I wasn't so lazy, I'd be towing the line for that. I've been to Cornwall quite a few times.
Imagine the pasties. You probably get free pasties at the end of that.
That should be a little feature on the show, shouldn't it? Gary's pasties section. But yeah, good luck everybody, wherever you're racing this weekend.
What does the week hold for you, Gary? And show notes, he doesn't know because he can't find the piece of paper he's written on. All day just sitting and he's like, Eddie, I don't know. Can't find the old piece of paper.
What are we going to do? Right, let me go. So we've got, I know for sure, we've got either 6 or 5 times 1K at 10K pace with a 90-second recovery. So that is...
Totes classic.
Yeah, classic. But that's for me. So I know pace is relative, but for me, that's just about 6-minute miling. But it's easier than last week because last week was 5 minutes or 6 minutes. So psychologically, I think, and I've got a 90-second recovery, but there's a caveat why that is easier is that this weekend's run is the biggest run of the training plan. So we've got, it might not actually be the biggest run, but just because it just looks on like the training plan is supposed to be. But what we're going to do on Sunday is, because Neil is still not 100% happy with his navigational duties.
Is it leg 5? Is this leg 5 Neil that we're all a bit nervous about?
He did do it. He was over the lakes. I felt so sorry for him. I saw his Strava and he just got battered by the horrible snow and rain all week. He had a, oh my goodness, what was it, like some kind of farmer's hut or a shepherd's hut he'd hide for the week, him and his wife. And he just got so unlucky with the weather. So we're going back over to do basically we're going to do leg 5 and 4 in reverse for 4 hours. And then we're just going to turn around and come back again.
Like it.
Yeah. And then what we'll do, because on my Garmin, mine beeps every mile. I'm not too sure if that's a standard feature for most watches. So you know what your mile split was. So I've turned that off and I've set the lap split to be manual. So I'm going to press the lap split every time we hit a summit. And then I'll know the time from Great Gable to Green Gable to, oh my goodness, I should know this off the back of my hand, but I can't remember what the next one is. But then you like Dalehead, Hindscarth, because when you do these Bob Graham calculators, they've got all these, so it's amazing. Some guy, he's calculated all the successful Bob Graham rounds and he's some weird algorithm. He's worked it all out. And then you put in, I'm hoping to do it in 22 hours, 24 hours, 1 hours. And then it projects all of what you should be hitting the times from summit to summit. So I'll be frantically trying to remember to press the lap button. And that is that. And I'm trying not to eat a pasty, Eddie. I'm trying not to.
Why would you not want to eat a pasty?
Well, I'm thinking these little improvements I can make. Could I eat something a bit more nutritious at the end of the run? But
end of a long run, a pasty, you've got, I'm not sure if it's protein content. Let's say it's good because if you have a meat one, you've got a bit of meat in there. You've got your fats, you've got your carbs, you've got loads of energy straight in. I'd have thought it would have been great.
I've got a pass from the coach. Brilliant.
You've got to, so you're going out for like 8-9 hours.
Yeah.
What is life if you can't have a hot brew and a pasty at the end of that?
Admit, when I ate it, it literally, I don't think it made it to my tummy. It just disintegrated somewhere on the way down.
There's nothing. That post-long session, mine was disgusting yesterday. Because also I often come back and I'm not hungry for about 20 minutes, have a shower, have a brew, obviously, and have a recovery shake. And then suddenly I'll be like, I've got the hunger of 1,000 men. And I had some chickpea pasta thing that Bryn had made me the night before. It sounds gross, but it was really nice. Like fried up chickpeas with veg and then pasta and like this tomato sauce. And I heated it up on the Tupperware. I put loads of cheese on the top and loads of spinach, and I ate it out of the Tupperware. Didn't even make it to the plate. I literally stood with the microwave door still open, just going, oh my God, so good.
Saves on dishes too. But I ate my pasty on Sunday at the little car park and watching the cricket play. It was just it was magic. Cup of coffee. I'd spilled all of it, half of it down my hand as I was walking. But apart from the burns I've got now. But the pasty was it was lovely. And I'm thinking, these guys are playing cricket and I've just been
up in a snowstorm. They don't know, man.
Unbelievable.
They don't know.
What about yourself?
Oh, well, I've got different sessions. This is great content for the podcast because I'm changing it up now. There's no more of this skiing and long 10% treadmills. I've got some fast stuff to do. Oh, my hamstrings are going to be in bits. Yeah, like you, I've got 10 90 seconds, 10 times 90 seconds, or maybe it's 10 by 2 minutes. I don't often study what I've got to do, but until the day before, because I don't want to know. I think it's 10 by 2 minutes, which I have actually kept in the plan quite a lot because I like to keep, because so much of my running out here is so slow, I do like to keep my hamstrings do remind that they can run a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
And then I've got this terrible session. I don't know the details of it, but it's like an uphill tempo and then a flick between as fast as you can run and a steady place for 30 seconds.
All right.
And I do that. I haven't even counted how many times I have to do that, but it's going to be the first time I've done a bit of lactate I reckon there's going to be vom in my mouth. First time for a long time, but it's good. I need to do it. I need to feel the sick because I've had a lovely winter of la 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 training, and I need to now start, because I don't know if you've ever done any of these European trail races. Like
No.
mine, I've got 160k, but most of them are like 30, 40k, ton of climbing.
Yeah.
Most of them have got like 2,000, 3,000 meters climbing, but people go off so fast, and it's always up a climb. So if you can't go off that fast and then let your heart rate go through the roof and then able to recover, and you want to be with the people, you want to be in the front group, because I need to follow them to go down the hills. Otherwise I go too slow, because then again I'm going la da 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 da. I need to be in it. So I got to start some pain training, I call it.
It's funny how you do kind of adopt the pace of your group. So if you want to be in it,
yes, you
get
do. So I'm going to do some practicing, and I think I might. It's a bit more swift bike racing might be in my life, of going out the blocks with that really high heart rate and holding it and not being scared. Because I think it's an age thing as well. I find it harder to push like when I was younger and racing, I just couldn't. There was no consequences, so I just go. I remember racing Ironman with like a heart rate of like 170, and now if I'm 70, I need 5 days to recover of a 2-minute rep at that.
But it does load, doesn't it? The older you get, I think you're kind of that heart rate equation. I know it's very rough because everyone's heart rate's different, but
it is about right. It is my youngster clients. They're like, oh yeah, 185 heart rate. I'm like, 185. Anyway, some super fast, speedy stuff. Looking forward to it, but with a little bit of fear. But that's what you need, isn't it?
Yeah, get a bit of fear in the. I don't know. It kind of keeps you invested. It's good to be scared. It's like this leg one I've got to do with this guy. Still minutes faster than I've ever done it.
When is that? Is that this week? No,
22nd. 22nd. I'm going to give myself like a little mini taper for that.
I would think so.
Yeah.
But I think if you have a little mini taper as well, you'd be amazed that actually you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think so. You know what? I did when I was talking about the lap splits, I did that, and the Skiddaw was a bit slower, but Calver I was fine, and coming off Blencathra I was fine, but then up to Blencathra I was a bit behind his pace. But like I say, a little bit of a. And
the weather was crappy.
Yeah. So and my heart rate was only probably maxed at 140, so there's still another 10 beats.
Hardly breathing, Gary.
Yeah. Should be your fingers. We'll find out.
Whatever, it'll be great content for the show if you do get dropped.
I won't be the first person. I'm listening to Feet in the Clouds on audiobook at the moment again, and there's lots of tales of Joss Naylor leaving his crew behind, because how many people can run as fast as Joss Naylor and Billy Bland in their prime? So it's just people getting left on the fells. I'll be another one.
Have a good week, everybody. I'm Eddie Sutton.
And I'm Gary Thwaites.
And let's run to the hills.